I believe he's on the phone, or are we going to get to see your smiling face, Senator Cory Booker of New Jersey? There you are. You are watching all of this and paying close attention. What does it mean to you, what you've been seeing today?
I think that this has even deeper meaning than I think the normal sense of patriotism, I think, for all Americans when they witness this incredible, cherished sort of tradition. And I think the reason why, and I had a lot of conversations when I was sitting on the bleachers with colleagues, is I think all of us felt such a deep sense of hurt from January 6th. And that this was, for many of us, the beginning of healing and the rekindling of hope for who we can be as a nation and where we could get to. And Biden's words so resonated well, I think, with the hearts and aspirations of many of us on both sides, that somehow we can bring an end to what he called the uncivil war and find common ground and get things done that better America.
What gives you hope, Senator Booker? What is it, either in what he said or what you know about him and Vice President Harris, that gives you hope that we can move beyond this?
I've been blessed to get to know both of them. And, you know, I was in a kind of political combat with Joe Biden. I don't know if you remember, Judy, but I ran for president.
I sure do.
and I will tell you, all of us who ran, and I've had this conversation with everybody from Pete Buttigieg to Andrew Yang to Elizabeth Warren, we were all kind of struck by Joe Biden's ability in private moments to rise above it and be a statesperson above all of us. He has this natural sense of grace and decency and kindness. And I know, and I'm not naive, 7 years in Washington now, I'm not naive to the sense of manufactured outrage and cynicism that drips often in Washington. But I think he is the right person for the right moment in history, where many of us, after the rancor and destructive politics of the last 4 years, I think he is the right person and is up for the task, along with us, to try to bring humility and grace and decency back to our politics.
Is it enough, Senator Booker? I don't mean to be challenging you more, but is it enough to have, I don't know, a good approach and, as you say, grace and a willingness to engage in this almost poisonous atmosphere that we've been witnessing and living through?
Well, look, we will never escape it. And I was giving a tour to some of my nieces and nephews and showing them the place where the caning of Sumter happened. Literally, somebody beat down in the old Senate chamber. And you never escape that. We're seeing it already with Josh Hawley almost mocking Joe Biden by telling him that he was going to, as a singular senator, hold up the rapid confirmation of one of his key national security people. So it's not that we're going to escape that in Washington, but I do believe this appeal to the better angels of our nature is coming after a time where you saw such a brutal breaking and even a defeat of our country. You know, Maya Angelou said, we must face many defeats, but never be defeated. We faced a defeat on January 6th. We eulogized yesterday on the Senate floor Brian Sicknick, an officer who gave the last best measure of his devotion, dying for his country in defense of his capital. That has had an effect on our body. That has had an effect on members on both sides of the aisle. And so often out of tragedy, whether it was 4 girls dying in a bombing in Birmingham or Goodman, Cheney, and Schwerner dying in Mississippi, often from low points like that comes a reawakening that we are still one people and still one nation, and have to find a way, as Joe Biden edged us on today, have to find a way to give the greatest testimony to our nation, is our ability to find that common ground and move together to higher ground.
Beyond these executive orders that he's signing today involving masking and the Paris Climate Accord and the border wall, rescinding the travel ban on predominantly Muslim countries, what do you think is the most urgent? What do you see as the most urgent things that he needs to tackle, get done?
I mean, he mentioned 400,000 Americans dead. We lost 600,000 or so in the 1918 pandemic. and we're fast heading towards 500,000 dead. This is the urgent moment that Congress and the president have to rise to. And it's not just the death. Many people not only have lost their lives, but many others have lost their livelihoods. We are in a time of great economic pain and hurt. And so I think all of us recognize that we're not out of this. We may be able to see the end of the tunnel, the light at the end of the tunnel, but we have a long tunnel to go through. And so I think there's going to be a lot of work. He's already talked about an ambitious vision for the next pandemic relief package. And so I think we're going to all be scrambling to meet the pain with promise and possibility. And I'm excited to be a part of that.
Cory Booker, because you are one of only two black senators, United States senators, you and Tim Scott of South Carolina, who of course is a Republican. What do you think is the pressure on Kamala Harris as our first not only woman vice president, not only first Asian woman, person of Asian descent to be vice president, but also first person of black descent? Her father was Jamaican. What sort of pressure is on her because of her special place in history?
So I've actually had this conversation with not just her, but also Tim Scott. We are still very different in this institution. I am the fourth black person ever popularly elected to the United States Senate after Barack Obama, who was third, and Tim Scott, who was the fifth. We have had this conversation. And what I love about Kamala and really admire about her is that she has her feet firmly planted in two places. One is this reverence for what had to transpire for her to be the kind of glass ceiling breaker that she has been in every step of her career, especially as the second black woman ever to serve in this institution. And so that humility that she has, understanding all of that, but then she's got her firm feet, other foot firmly planted in the foothold of this understanding that I will not be the last. I may be the first, but by every way possible, I'm going to make sure that the way gets easier for those who come behind me. And that balance between those two steps of humility and audacious determination are what makes her perfectly ready to be the first in American history. And I know, and I'm confident in this, that she has now joined the pantheon of great black women in history, from Ella Baker and Fannie Lou Hamer and Sojourner Truth and Rosa Parks. She is now a part of that pantheon, and she will do honor to that legacy and to the generations to come.
And finally, because she ran for president before, do you expect she's going to run again? And what about Cory Booker?
Well, I will say about Kamala Harris, God's got plans for her, and anything is possible. And as far as me, this boy from Jersey who just got reelected to be a United States senator, please let me focus on these next 2 years, because I'm going to tell you this: in about an hour, I will go to the Senate floor and be the escort to be sworn in of a man named John Ossoff, as he stands next to a guy named Raphael Warnock, a black guy and a Jew from Georgia, as I get to stand behind them. And the Senate will shift power as well. And I will get to lead subcommittees on issues of such pressing urgency. We will get to determine the Senate agenda and finally bring to the floor bills that should have been voted on a long time ago, from common sense background checks, raising the minimum wage, and as I said before, meeting the urgencies of the pandemic. So I know what my plan is for the near future, and I'm excited that God has given me the blessing to stand on that sacred civic space, the well of the Senate, and do the work of my state of New Jersey.
Thank you for reminding us that you're engaged in all kinds of other history today. Senator Cory Booker of New Jersey. Thank you very much. Who was, as he reminded us, we didn't need to be reminded, but he was himself a candidate for president not so long ago. Senator Booker, thank you very much. We appreciate it.